All bowed but one. He stood, unbending, unmoved. That single act of defiance changed eternity. If you too are unbending, check out Pantheon Apparel, our clothing brand inspired by myths, legends and folklore. We ship worldwide and are rated excellent on Trustpilot, link in the description. Before humans ever took shape from clay, another race had already been created, the Jinn. They were formed from smokeless fire, a force older than mankind, unseen yet ever present. They lived in their own hidden world, a realm that runs beside ours, close enough to touch, but forever veiled. They hunted, gathered, ruled, and warred, just as we do, intelligent beings bound to the same God that commands angels and men. But unlike the angels, who obey without question, the Jinn were given something more dangerous: free will. They could worship or refuse, build or destroy, serve or rebel. Their freedom made them closer to us than the angels, which is why their story collides so deeply with ours. Some submitted, others resisted. Some remained hidden in the deserts, ruins, and wild places. Others moved quietly among human lives, whispering temptation or even forming bonds. They had their own kings, tribes, and divisions, mirroring the complexities of human society. They were powerful, swift, a people of passion and pride. And it was from this race that Iblis came. Elevated beyond his kind, he rose into the rank of angels themselves. But never forget, he was not one of them. He was Jinn. And because of that, when the command came, his choice mattered. Iblis rose higher than any of his kind. Among the Jinn, he was extraordinary. He fasted, prayed, and called upon God with such persistence that his name became known beyond the hidden world of fire. He was disciplined where others were reckless, constant where others strayed. That devotion carried him upward into a place no ordinary Jinn could reach. The angels were created from light, flawless in their obedience, but Iblis was invited into their company. He joined them in their worship, lifting praises that filled the court. For a Jinn, it was an honor almost beyond imagining, to be seen as worthy to dwell in the heights. Yet the very thing that set him apart also set him at risk. Angels obey by nature, their loyalty unbroken, but Iblis, even in his devotion, carried something they did not: will. In that choice, the seed of pride found soil. The more he rose, the more he began to believe his place was proof of superiority. He was fire, luminous and fierce, raised into the ranks of light. Where angels acted from design, Iblis believed he acted from merit. And in that merit, he saw greatness that others lacked. Pride is quiet. It coils in secret, hidden even behind acts of piety. But within Iblis, it smouldered, a slow burning conviction that he was destined for more than his station, more than his kin, even more than the being yet to come. His rise was real, but so too was the shadow growing within it. Then came the command. Adam, the first man, stood before them, formed from clay, the breath of life placed within him. To the angels, this was the first time they looked upon a being made of earth. And yet he was unlike any creation before him, shaped by the hands of God, destined to hold knowledge and a role that none of them yet understood. The hosts of heaven gathered, ranks beyond counting stretched out, radiant and still, waiting for the word. Among them stood Iblis, shoulder to shoulder with angels, watching the figure of Adam with fire in his heart. Then God spoke. The command was simple, final, unquestionable. Bow before Adam. Honor the one who had just been created. The silence broke in a wave of movement. Across the assembly, angels bent low, their wings folding in reverence, their foreheads pressed to the ground. The act was swift, perfect, unified. A sea of light, bowed to clay. But one figure remained. While all others lowered themselves, Iblis stayed upright. His body was rigid, his fire burning bright, his gaze fixed forward. He did not kneel. He did not even flinch. He defied, and when the silence broke, so did his reasoning. God asked him, "What kept you from bowing when I commanded you?" His answer came with certainty, a conviction already fixed in his heart. "I am better than him. You created me from fire, and you created him from clay." That was the heart of it. Pride. To Iblis, fire was greater than earth. Fire was alive, flickering, consuming, impossible to hold. Clay was heavy, dull, shaped only by another's hands. Fire rose upward, clay was bound to the ground. Fire gave light, clay gave nothing. In his eyes, the very elements testified to his superiority. The command to kneel, then, was intolerable. Why should a being made of fire lower himself to one made of dust? Why should the higher honor the lesser? In his reasoning, the order was inverted. The new creation should have bowed to him. But the command was about obedience, about recognizing Adam's place in a design none of them yet understood. To weigh fire against clay was to miss the point entirely, yet Iblis clung to it. His pride turned substance into hierarchy and hierarchy into rebellion. This was the first moment that a creature exalted itself over another, the first time worship was interrupted by comparison. Iblis measured himself against Adam and declared himself greater. He reduced the will of God to an argument of matter, and in that choice revealed the arrogance hidden in his devotion. His reasoning was simple, but it carried the weight of defiance that echoes still. Fire against earth, self against command. Judgment followed. In the assembly of heaven, the honor that once clothed Iblis was taken from him. He was declared accursed, expelled from the nearness he had enjoyed. The gates of that company closed to him. What he had risen through devotion was stripped away in a single decree. He would not stand among the angels again. In that moment, a name became a role. He was named Shaytan, the adversary, the one who turns away and causes others to turn. The fire within him didn't fade, but its purpose darkened. Where his voice had once joined the chorus of praise, it would now move in opposition, seeking to unfasten what obedience had secured. Iblis asked for time. He asked that his punishment be delayed until the day of judgment. The request was granted. He was given respite until the appointed hour, but not as a favor. Instead, as part of a larger design he would not control. His fall, then, was the beginning of a long war. With time granted, he made a vow. He swore to come at mankind from every side, to meet them on the straight path and lead them from it. He would work by suggestion and invitation, by promises and fears, by turning strengths into snares and wounds into doors. He would whisper to the proud and to the desperate, to the learned and to the simple, shaping desire into chains. Yet even in that vow, a limit remained. He could not force the will. He could call, but could not command. Over the servants who were sincere, he would have no authority. His power would be persuasion, his battlefield the human heart, his weapons the oldest ones we know, hope without anchor and fear without trust. This was the fall of Iblis, cast out, yet given time, silenced from praise, yet permitted to speak quietly. He left the court, bent toward a single purpose, to test the sons and daughters of clay until the final hour. From that moment on, Iblis was no longer alone. Where once he was a single being, now he stood as the head of an unseen legion. He became the leader of a host known as the Shayatin, forces of his kind who followed him into rebellion. Where Iblis is one, Shaytan is many. He's the head, they are the swarm. His defiance became theirs, a fire that spread from one will into countless voices. The Shayatin are agents of his vow. They carry out the oath he swore in the heavenly court, to mislead and corrupt the children of Adam until the final hour. They move unseen, slipping between thought and desire, stirring doubts, feeding pride, inflaming anger. They whisper in the darkness and in the quiet of the human heart. They press upon every weakness until it bends. What Iblis began, they extend, scattering his rebellion into 1,000 subtle suggestions across the generations. In the traditions that followed, these forces are without number. They follow individuals. Each person, it said, is shadowed by one who tempts and suggests. They lean close when the mind is weary, when the heart is hungry, when the soul is wounded. They offer the easy path, the sharp word, the indulgence no one else will see. They make promises that dissolve when grasped, and though they can't force their hand, they never stop urging it, always persuading, never commanding. The choice remains human, but the pressure is constant. Iblis is often equated with Satan, but the stories are not the same. In Christianity, Satan is remembered as Lucifer, a radiant angel who rose in pride and was cast down in fire. In Jewish texts, the Satan isn't a single being but a role, the accuser, a prosecutor, testing the faithful, always opposing, yet still under command. Iblis is different. He was never an angel but Jinn, and his fall came from choice. The angels were bound to obey. Iblis was free, and in that freedom he refused. Where Lucifer fell through an open rebellion, Iblis fell by standing rigid. His refusal was quieter, but no less absolute. What followed was also different. To Christians, Satan becomes the ruler of hell, crowned in damnation, tormenting the lost in a kingdom of fire. In Islam, Iblis rules no such domain. He is banished from standing beside God, but his realm is not beneath the earth. It's among mankind. He walks alongside us, whispering, tempting, misleading. His work is to corrupt in life. So when the names are set side by side, the images shift. Satan, Lucifer, the fallen angel of one tradition, ruling over chains and flames. Iblis, the Jinn who would not kneel, whose rebellion moves unseen, multiplied through the Shayatin. Both adversaries, both defiant, but born of different stories, carrying different shadows. For some, the story of Iblis opens into deeper questions. Mystics, philosophers, and poets have lingered on his defiance, asking what it means not only in heaven, but in the human heart. In Sufism, the mystical tradition of Islam, Iblis becomes more than the tempter. Some saw him as the tragic ascetic, a being so consumed with devotion to God that he wouldn't bow to any other, even when commanded. In this telling, his refusal was a misdirected form of loyalty. He bowed to no one but the Creator, and in that strictness he condemned himself. Whether read as pride disguised as purity, or purity twisted into pride, Iblis becomes the eternal exile, a warning of what happens when devotion loses humility. Others drew him from a more inward meaning. Iblis is the mirror of the human ego. His words, fire against clay, are the language of comparison, of superiority, of the self lifting itself above others. He is the voice that says, "I am better," the voice that weighs worth in appearances and mistakes it for truth. In this light, Iblis is a shadow within us, always tempting us to set our will above command, our pride above obedience, our ego above humility. Philosophers looked at Iblis and saw the archetype of rebellion itself. He represents first refusal, the first act of saying no. To some, that refusal is the price of freedom, proof that free will exists. To others, it is the danger of choice, the ever-present risk that liberty can turn into defiance. In either view, Iblis stands as a symbol larger than the myth. He is rebellion written into the fabric of creation, the shadow that appears the moment choice is given. His shadow runs through culture, folklore, and daily life. In stories told across the Islamic world, his name is present, a reminder that temptation is never far away. Children are taught that stray thoughts, sudden angers, and reckless impulses may carry the trace of him. Ritual words are spoken before meals, before journeys, before entering a home as shields against intrusion. Everyday acts are bound up with the awareness of Iblis and the Shayatin. Folklore fills in the shadows. In some tales, the Shayatin gather in ruined places, in wild deserts, in lonely crossroads where men wander and falter. In others, they weave themselves into the life of a household, feeding quarrels, stirring mistrust, fanning the embers of envy. The presence of Iblis is explanation for the small fractures in daily life. And beyond folklore, his image lingers as a symbol. He's the adversary who never ceases, a reminder that pride and ego are dangers within as much as without. He too is the cautionary figure, the one who reached heights through devotion but fell through arrogance. In either form, the tale of this Jinn continues, alive in practice, belief, and imagination, wherever the struggle with temptation endures. All bowed but one. That refusal split through the fabric of creation. What began in silence still spreads, like a crack running through stone. It moves through centuries, through cities, through every hidden corner of the human heart. He waits in the air we breathe, in the stillness between thoughts, in the hungers we can't name. His vow didn't fade. It grows, it multiplies, leans over every shoulder, whispering until the whisper feels like our own voice. The angels bowed once. Humanity kneels every day. And still, he stands.